Yesterday, Forsaken had the Azure update, which gave us the new killer, Azure, and with this update, you are all probably struggling to win against this killer. Lucky for you, I know how to win, so sit back and relax and enjoy this video. Firstly, let's talk about his passive. Azure has 3 passive abilities. His first passive is called echolocation. Basically, Azure's plants are triggered by sound. If survivors sprint or use an ability near them, they will trigger and attack the survivor. Survivors that trigger plants have their aura revealed to Azure for 3 seconds. But however, if not in blooming, you can walk around it. His second passive is Atropic. Azure's plants apply a unique status effect named Atropa. This status effect is the primary way to gain oblation. Oblation is also gained through dealing damage. Azure gains 1 oblation for every stack of Atropa on a survivor when hit with perforating. If Atropa expires naturally, Azure gains 1 oblation for every 2 stacks of Atropa, with a minimum of 1 oblation gain. Additionally, perforating and pummeling will deal 1 additional damage for every stack of Atropa on a survivor when hit. However, this will also remove all Atropa stacks. Atropa highlights survivors affected by it to Azure, with the highlight growing darker the more stacks they have. Seeker bulbs inflict 1 stack of Atropa on hit. Stigmatized vines inflict 3 stacks of Atropa on hit, and a survivor fully disarming either of them is inflicted with 2 stacks of Atropa. Atropa cannot go beyond 6 stacks, and additional stacks do not refresh the existing status timer. Azure can have a maximum of 15 oblation. His final passive is Senescence. Azure's plants are able to be temporarily disarmed by survivors. However, Azure's seeker bulbs and stigmatized vines begin life blooming. Blooming plants are glowing, unable to be disarmed, and have certain traits amplified. Seeker bulbs will fire faster while blooming, and stigmatized vines will always activate while blooming if a survivor goes near it regardless of if they are sprinting or use an ability. If either plant is disarmed, they will enter a withered state and become inactive for 30 seconds. However, once a plant becomes active again, they will begin blooming once more. The blooming state lasts for 40 seconds. Now let's talk about his abilities. His M1 deals 22 damage, has a 0.22 second windup, and reaches 8.5 studs, that the longest M1 in the entire game, not including Jason Yu will be missed, and has a linger of 0.25 seconds. His second ability is Seeker Bulb. Azure will slow down, and then after a 0.86 second windup, will jab a tentacle forward, spawning a Seeker Bulb on the hit surface. Upon being triggered, they will begin to fire projectiles at the survivor who activated it, dealing 4 damage and applying a stack of Atropa on hit. Seeker bulbs will stop firing after 1.5 seconds if they lose line of sight of survivors or survivors stop making noise near it. Azure can have up to 3 Seeker bulbs at once. Using the ability again with 3 Seeker bulbs placed will replace the oldest one. His third ability is Stigmatize. Azure will briefly come to a near standstill, and then after a 0.8 second windup will summon a vine. Vines have a brief 1.2 second arm time after they are finished being summoned. Upon being triggered, they will track and attempt to attack the nearest survivor to trap them. The attack has a 0.6 second windup. If the attack hits a survivor, they will become snared and unable to move more than a small distance away from the vine before being pulled back in. Survivors are released from the snare after 5 seconds of being trapped, or they take more than 10 damage. Upon being released, survivors gain speed 2 for 1 second. After releasing a survivor or missing an attack, the vine will briefly wither and go on a 6.5 second cooldown before being able to be triggered again. His fourth ability is Strangle. Azure can't sprint while charging for 1 second. Launches a tentacle that deals 10 damage and grabs a survivor. Throw them, or throw early, to deal 5 more damage, knocking them down and briefly knocking down nearby survivors. Azure is helpless for 2 seconds after throwing, longer plus slowness 2 if thrown too close. Stamina regen is reduced by 75% while using it. His last base ability is Inflorescence. At 15 Oblation, Azure can spend 4.8 seconds summoning a golem. Press the ability again to control it, otherwise it stays as a statue. The golem lasts 45 seconds, but its timer pauses while inactive. Switching between Azure and the golem has a 2.5 seconds cooldown. Azure can't gain Oblation while the golem exists. His golem passive is Efflorescent. The golem reduces all incoming negative status effects by 50% and cannot be stunned. If the golem is hit by a stun, it will instead receive 3 seconds of slowness, 2, and helpless. Pummeling is the first ability of the golem, which is just its M1 dealing 26 damage instead of 22. The first golem ability is Blooming. After 0.7 seconds, the golem slams the ground, knocking survivors down and dealing up to 35 damage. The second golem ability is Unearthing. After 0.8 seconds, the golem sends a shockwave that deals 15 damage and leaves a slowing fissure. Burrowing. Relinquish control of the golem and return to Azure. Now you may be wondering, how do you counter this purple monster? Well, for starters use, 2-time Noob, and 007 and 7, as all three give undetectable, making the plants useless. Also, if you are using N7, I highly recommend doing this when you can. Here is the clip. It really helps your team, as the inactive time jumps from 6 seconds to 11 seconds if you pull off the clone parry, which is much better than the inactivity after juking and super useful when blooming. The second to last tip applies to every killer. Help your team. Sentinels should stun the killer, supports should support their teammates, and survivalists must keep any guest mains away from the generators. That's your job. If you're 2-time N7 or Noob, don't help your team unless you know it's going to be LMS. If you use your undetectable move as LMS starts, Azure won't know where you are, giving you a free LMS win. Only support your team when there are 15 seconds left and your last teammate is still alive. To sum it up, first, disable plants whenever you can. And if Azure is close, don't be reckless and don't do the minigame. Second, use N7 Noob and 2-time to get the undetectable status to go past blooming plants. 3, help your team if you are a Sentinel body block, stun, and so on. Same if you're A, support. Lastly, try and dodge Azure, N, strangle, and unearthing. If this helped you out, consider subscribing. I am Bloxmasters11 and have a good day or night.